Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into an ancient storytelling map and asking a pretty bold question. Could this map actually be the blueprint for our digital future? We're about to go on a journey to see how the stories of tomorrow are really going to be built. You've seen this a million times. At the heart of so many myths, books, and blockbuster movies is this pattern called the hero's journey. It's a framework we all just kind of get, you know? It taps into this deep shared understanding of struggle and growth. It's Luke Skywalker leaving his boring desert home, or Harry Potter finally getting out of that cupboard under the stairs. So what if this ancient map for telling stories isn't just for stuff we watch, but for the immersive worlds we're literally starting to build and live in? That's the huge question we're tackling today. Can the hero's journey actually guide how we create the metaverse?
Okay, so to really get where we're going, we first have to understand the foundation. Let's break down the three acts that have been powering our greatest stories for, well, centuries.
It really boils down to three main parts. First up, the departure, where our hero gets pulled away from their normal, everyday life. Then comes the initiation. This is where they enter a, quote, special world of supernatural wonder, face all these crazy ordeals, and finally win a boon. Could be a treasure, some wisdom, a big victory. And last, the return, where the hero, totally transformed, brings that prize back to their ordinary world. This whole pattern, it's like it's baked right into our DNA. It's why these stories just work.
All right, so every good story needs a hero, right? Well, for our story about building new worlds, we've got one. A creator who's been on his very own hero's journey through this constantly changing media landscape. Let's meet Johnny. He's our case study here. And his call to adventure wasn't some mysterious letter. It was the dawn of the internet, way back in '94. His journey took him through these massive projects with places like NASA and MIT, then to founding his own company, and eventually to spending over 8 years right on the cutting edge of XR. That's extended reality, the catch-all for virtual and augmented reality. So what was the big idea pushing Johnny on his quest? It's something called transmedia. Just think of a story world that's way too big for just one screen. It lives and breathes across movies, video games, virtual spaces, and every single piece adds something new to the puzzle. For a creator like him, that was the call to adventure. That's what started the whole journey. And that leads us right into Act 2 of our journey, the initiation. Our hero leaves the familiar world of traditional media and steps into the special world of virtual and augmented reality. A place with completely different rules, and here's where things get really tricky. This is the big challenge for creators. The old ways of doing things just don't work anymore. When the audience isn't just watching, when you are actually present inside the story, well, you have to rethink everything. This brings us to a huge shift in our role. See, we've always been observant passive. We watch a story play out from the outside. But in these new worlds, we become observant active. We transform into, well, you could call it a godlike decision maker, kind of floating through the story and able to influence where it goes, even without having a body in it. And these are the mighty ordeals of this new world. Suddenly, storytellers have to answer these almost impossible questions. Like, how do you control the pace of a scene when a user can just look away? How do you write believable dialogue for a character when a player could interrupt them at any second? Yeah, the old rulebook, you can just toss it out the window. Even our own physical limits become fundamental rules of design. And get this for a wild fact that just became a rule for designers. Hold your thumb out at arm's length. That width you see? It's about 2 degrees, the exact size of the sharpest part of your vision, your fovea. Designers have figured out that we hate moving our eyes more than 20 degrees off center. It's a perfect, crazy example of how our own bodies are writing the laws for these new virtual worlds. All right, so that brings us to Act 3. The hero has faced the trials, right? Now they have to come back with the boon, the treasure they've won. For our hero and for the entire future of the internet, that treasure has a name: portability. This is the ultimate prize, metaverse portability. It's the key to fixing one of the biggest problems with the internet today, these walled gardens, where everything is stuck on its own platform. Portability is the dream of a seamless web, where your digital self and all your virtual stuff can travel with you wherever you go. And honestly, audiences have already imagined this future perfectly. They want, quote, to be a ready player who can take a Vorpal sword from a D&D type game and use it in another FPS platform, like a first-person shooter. That right there, that is the ultimate prize, the boon our hero is trying to bring back from the special world. And in the language of our hero's journey, making this happen isn't just a tech upgrade. No way. It's really the completion of a redemptive arc.
It's about finally fixing the broken, disconnected way we live our lives online and actually delivering on that interconnected future we've been hearing about for decades.
So the hero's journey gives us a map, not just for telling stories, but for building the very worlds where new stories will live. The creator comes back from their quests completely transformed by what they've learned. So the final question is really for us. As we start to step into these new immersive realities, how are we going to be transformed by them?